So, good afternoon to all of you. Anand, thank you so much to you and all KSG team. I'm learning a lot of things from you. Anand, thank you so much, Anand. In fact, our endeavor is to give you as much as possible so that you are able to learn new things and new dynamics altogether to understand the nuances of everything. So, because it will help you in UPSC, obviously, but in general walks of life also, where you can stand and discuss any issue and speak on any topic. Clear? So, that gives a confidence in any society for every person to stand and speak the what is right, what is wrong, and what is the balanced thing. Clear? So obviously the whole purpose of education is to develop that spirit and confidence. Clear? Right? Clear? There's another question from Madan Saha. What is the importance this type of defense exercises? Yeah, clear. So we had discussed in the last session, as of now only, that defense exercises began to be performed by India and United States. And again, for your information, I'll let you know, such defense exercises has been performed not only between India and United States, but also with other countries like France also, Russia also, even Vietnam also, Japan also. So defense exercise has been performed with all the major countries, and with these defense exercises performed with major countries. Clear? What is the logic behind these exercises? The logic behind these exercises is clear that through these exercises, one country like United States, they not only depute the military forces, they also depute the sophisticated and new technologies, new equipments and weapons. And in these exercises, when these weapons are used by Indian soldiers, Indian defense personnel, they come to know about the benefit of those equipments, and they convince the government to purchase those things. So it is a kind of a marketing strategy as well, whereby kind of demonstration is done of US weapons, and just because of this demonstration, they are demanded by Indian defense market, and that creates a huge market in India for US weapons. So obviously defense trade is largely promoted through such mid-defense exercises, which is seen as a marketing strategy. But at the same time, more importantly, it is seen as interoperability exercise, whereby through such the two forces are learned about the operations, about the techniques and strategy, and that results into further refinement in the strategy on both the parts. Clear? So it is also for interoperability, it is also for defensive marketing, it is also for promoting healthy defense ties between the two countries. On account of this also, it is that such defense exercises are performed between the two countries. It's clear, Madan Saha? Clear? Please revert back. No, coming back. Clear? So we were discussing about the defense cooperation between India and United States, and we had discussed that how it started from 1991, and after 1991, it resulted into defense relations in 1995. Defense relation was reviewed after 10 years. It led to defense agreement in 2005. It was a 10-year agreement to be reviewed again after 10 years. So after every 10 years, the defense relations agreement has been reviewed, and fresh agreement has been signed between the two countries that indicate further upward trajectory in defense cooperations in new domain. Clear? So some new domains are added in every defense agreement, and that indicate the growing relationship of between India and United States. Clear? Coming to such defense cooperation, we'll understand other developments that took place in course of time. In the year 2013, India and United States concluded Defense Technology and Trade Initiative. So in the year 2013, clear? So in the year 2013, India and United States concluded Defense Technology and Trade Initiative. So Defense Technology and Trade Initiative, DTTI, 2013. Clear? So Defense Technology and Trade Initiative was signed in 2013, and when this Defense Technology and Trade Initiative was signed, it was basically to promote defense technology and trade between the two countries. At the same time, it was also emphasized on co-production and joint research and co-development. So emphasis was on co-production, co-development and joint research in the defense sector, so that this relationship is upgraded from buyer-seller relationship to the level of co-production, joint production and co-development of defense equipments. Clear. It was also to promote bilateral business trade with related to defense sector. It was also because to promote operational capabilities of both the countries, and at the same time it was also to be promoted as designate India as a major defense partner, not only of US, major defense partner of NATO. Clear. So obviously it was declared to India to be designated as major defense partner on par with NATO states. Clear. So India could not join NATO, but India was declared to be a country on par with NATO states by United States under this defense technology and trade initiative. Big move to boost the bilateral defense ties between the two countries. Clear. At the same time, in 2015, again the defense agreement was reviewed and Indo-US defense agreement was again signed in the year 2015. And when this defense agreement was signed in 2015, the key dimensions decided at that time was to exchange bilateral experiences between the two countries apart from other dimensions. So first of all, write about this. Clear. Right. In course of time, India and United States, in course of time, India and United States concluded defense technology and trade initiative, DTTI, trade initiative in 2013. Clear? Right. According to this agreement, initiatives are to be taken to develop defense technology, and to promote defense trade. Okay. Defense trade. Right. The focus of this agreement is on co-production, co-development, and joint research in the defense sector. Okay. Right. The objective of this initiative is to enhance India's operational capabilities, and research and development. Clear? Right. Moreover, such initiative is to accept India as a major defense partner, on par with the NATO states, NATO, par with the NATO states that still exist after Cold War. NATO states. Clear? Right. It can be safely accepted. It can be safely accepted that India's stature in global politics, India's stature in global politics has been enhanced, through such initiative, Clear? Change paragraph. Right. In 2015, in 2015, the existing defense agreement, was reviewed. The existing defense agreement was reviewed. And another Indo-US defense agreement, was signed. Indo-US defense agreement was signed in 2015. Signed in 2015. Clear? Right. The key dimensions of this 10-year agreement. It is also for 10 years. It to be reviewed after 10 years. The key dimensions of this 10-year agreement, is to ensure technology transfers to India, co-production projects in defense, co-production projects in defense, thrust on interoperability, and joint vision for the Indian Ocean. It has always been a focus area between India and US, and joint vision for the Indian Ocean. Joint vision for the Indian Ocean. Right here. Right. On account of such comprehensive defense agreement, the US President Barack Obama declared India as a major defense partner. In 2016. Major defense partner in 2016. Very important, defense partner. This tag was given to India in 2016. Right. At the same time, India and United States concluded the logistics exchange memorandum of agreement, of understanding, understanding. LIMOA. Clear? Logistics Exchange Memorandum of Agreement or Memorandum of Understanding. Clear? Memorandum of Agreement. Clear, right? Memorandum of Agreement. Memorandum of Agreement. Logistics Exchange and Exchange Memorandum of Agreement, LIMOA, in 2016. In 2016, to ensure proper exchange, to ensure proper exchange, to ensure proper exchange of logistics, proper exchange of logistics, as well as stationing of troops, for interoperability, Clear? Right. This agreement was followed by communication interoperability. This agreement was followed by communication interoperability, and security, memorandum agreement, security, memorandum agreement, Clear? Communication interoperability and memorandum of agreement, SISMA, and memorandum of agreement, to ensure proper exchange, of important information, proper exchange of important information, proper information for defense security, clear? Defense security, right? In order to promote regular interactions, between the two countries, the concept of Indo-US, Indo-US 2+2 dialogue, Indo-US 2+2 dialogue was introduced. The concept of 2+2 dialogue was introduced in 2018. Was introduced in 2018. Introduced in 2018. 2018. 2018. Clear? Right. According to this initiative, the defense and foreign ministers, two from this side, two from that side, defense and foreign ministers of India and United States, defense and foreign ministers of India and United States United States, United States, defense and United States will indulge into regular interaction, will indulge into regular interaction to discuss discuss defense and strategic issues, to discuss defense and strategic issues, defense and strategic issues, defense and strategic issues. Clear? Right. It is a novel step, NOVEL. It is a novel step to promote regular discussion between the two countries, regular discussion between the two countries, clear? Right. On account of such developments, on account of such developments, defense cooperation has emerged to be, defense cooperation has emerged to be the most important domain to boost, Indo-US relationship, to boost Indo-US relationship, Indo-US relationship, Indo-US relationship. Clear? No, these were the major developments, clear? And there are several important equipments purchased from US to Russia like Apache helicopters. Then we have large number of aircraft carrier also. At the same time, some weapons also. But all these are basically related to all these agreements, clear? Meanwhile, just understand what are the major issues involved in Indo-US defense relationship, because obviously still the most important demand of India from United States is related to technology transfer. And even after so much of agreements, technology transfer has not been done by United States in effective sense, and therefore India still is not self-independent in defense production. So co-production and joint exercises has been envisaged every time, but proper technology transfer has still not been done to India, and therefore India still remains to be dependent on other countries for defense purchases. Clear? This is one thing. At the same time, clear, United States prohibit India to have trade connection with other countries. Just because such prohibitory orders are imposed upon India, obviously India is not able to diversify its defense market easily, clear? And in this context only, one country that comes into picture, that country is Russia. Russia factor is a big factor in defense cooperation between the two countries. We'll come to Russia factor in Indo-US defense cooperation. Clear? Before we go on to that, let us understand, take some questions. Clear? Sir, first world country, US, France, Russia, try keep on fire. On third world country like India, Pakistan, India and China. India, China, they're on one way to sell defense equipment like Rafale, 42, etc. Is not. I could not get you. First world country, yeah, United States, France, Russia, try to keep on fire on the third world country like India, Pakistan, Pakistan, India, China. Their one benefit to sell defense equipment like Rafale is not. I could not get your question, Bishwajit. Clear? Just try to reframe the question again. I'll get back to you. Clear? Next question is from Anand. Sir, India has a strategic relationship with many countries. Fine. My question is, what does it mean and how it differs from other kind of relationship? Clear? See, strategic relationship. When we use the term strategic relationship, it means long-term relationship which are guided by multi-dimensions. Clear? So when we use the term strategic relationship means long-term relationship involving several dimensions, not only trade, not only strategic, not only defense. It is marked by multi-dimensional components. Clear? So strategic relationship is a relationship which is of long-term character, marked by multi-dimensional components. Clear? Then the relationship is known as strategic relationship. Clear, Anand? Clear. Next question is again from Anand sir. Be it military exercise or naval exercises, these entail piloting or testing weapons, sophisticated technology and innovative ideas. Sharing, by the way, the between the among countries, right, sir? My question is as to probable losses that India can incur and how the mutual points have been both countries, and have these as like the potential to threat our national security and sovereignty somehow or in the upcoming days. Clear? See, your question is basically clear. My question is as to probable losses that India can incur and how the mutual icons points to have points for both countries. Have these exercise the potential to threat our national security? Again, see, all these military exercises are performed by India and other countries. Clear? But all these exercises are performed keeping in mind India's internal security and autonomy, meaning thereby that in these exercises the forces of other countries are not allowed to stay permanently or for longer period of time. Clear? The forces of other countries are stationed for a temporary period of time. Once the exercises gets over, they return back to the home country. Clear? So, as in these exercises, first of all, India takes care that the forces are not stationed permanently in India. Rather, they come only for the exercises, and once the exercise is over, they revert back. Moreover, there can be losses, but at the same time, if you look into locations of all these exercises, most of these exercises are conducted in arid regions of India or Himalayan regions of India. Like most of these exercises are conducted in regions of Rajasthan. Some exercises like military drill are performed in the regions of Himalayas like Uttarakhand. Clear? Chamoli district. Clear? Why? Because obviously the population remains to be sparse and there are less chances of any attack or losses for civilian people. Since it is taken care that these exercises are performed in far-flung regions away from the civilian masses, the chances of incurring losses for masses are less and less. Clear? So all these factors are taken care of, and these joint exercises are performed keeping in mind the national security and the interest of common people. It's clear, Anand. Clear? So these are the major factors. Now coming to the major problems in Indo-US defense relationship, and the major factor has been the demand for technology transfer, which still has not taken place effectively between India and United States. Clear? Right, heading as structural problems and issues. Structural problems and issues. Heading as structural problems and issues in Indo-US defense relationship. In Indo-US defense relationship. Defense relationship. Defense relationship. Clear? Right. The most important structural issue. The most important structural issue. Structural issue is the level of defense establishment. Is the level of defense establishment in India and United States. Establishment in India and United States. United States. United States. India and United States. United States. Clear? Right. The defense setup in United States. The defense setup in United States is much more developed and sophisticated. Is much more developed and sophisticated. Much more developed and sophisticated as compared to India. As compared to India, which creates a sense of superiority, which creates sense of superiority for Americans. Sense of superiority for Americans. For Americans. Clear? Americans. Another structural problem. Another structural problem is that Indian defense establishment remains under bureaucrats, and defense system in United States are under military officials, That leads to divergent opinion. Two structural issues are there. Divergent opinion. So one is related to difference in defense establishment. Another is about bureaucracy and military officials. Change paragraph. Clear? Right. The major issue in defense cooperation. The major issue in defense relation is India's demand for technology transfer. And joint production of defense materials. Joint production of defense materials. Clear? Right. However, United States has not cooperated largely, and it cannot be denied that defense relationship largely remains to be a buyer-seller relationship. Nothing more than that. Largely remains to be a buyer-seller relationship. Clear? Right. The second major feature. The second major issue. Is the Russia factor. Russia factor is the Russia factor. Right, next sentence. Right, Russia has been a consistent supporter of India. Russia has been consistent supporter of India, and one of the largest supplier of defense materials to India. Largest supplier of defense material to India. Defense material to India. Now, what is the issue? We'll just understand. Clear? First of all, you need to understand the US makers enacted a law which is known as Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanctions Act, that is known as CAATSA. Clear? This CAATSA is an act whereby United States want to prohibit its ally not to have trade relationship with America's adversaries. Clear? Even Russia is considered to be adversary of Russia, and therefore America. Therefore, United States prohibit India from procuring defense materials from Russia. That is the country being designated as CAATSA. Clear? But in course of time, recently, India has purchased, clear, S-400 Triumph missile system from Russia when waiver was given by India from CAATSA. Clear? Since waiver was given by United States to India, it was a big support. Clear? And India was able to secure this waiver under CAATSA, which is an American law to sanction countries in the world that deal in financial transaction with those countries like Iran, North Korea and Russia. Clear? So obviously it has proved to be a big problem for India, and just because of this problematic issue, Russia remains to be a thorn in Indo-US defense relationship. Clear? So we need to understand about CAATSA. Clear? So CAATSA is basically a law enacted by America in 2016. Clear? So CAATSA is countering America's adversaries, through Sanctions Act. Through Sanctions Act. It's known as CAATSA, CAATSA, enacted in the year 2017, and according to this act, clear, American law, sanctioned countries, clear, the countries in the world that deal in financial transactions with the countries, clear. Now, which are those adversary countries to America? Those countries are Iran, North Korea, and Russia. Iran, North Korea and Russia. So, United States prohibit the countries not to have financial dealings and transactions with these countries known as adversaries of America, and to counter them and to isolate them, America enacted Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanctions Act in 2017. So, India was prohibited to have financial dealings with Russia also, and therefore it led to problem with respect to Russia. But in recent time, India was given certain waive or certain relaxation from CAATSA, and India was able to procure S-400 Triumph missiles from Russia at this time, which was considered to be a great relief. But such legislations enacted by America has always proved to be a big problem for India to diversify its defense basket. Clear? We'll write about this. Clear? Right. In 2017, United States enacted a legislation known as Countering America's Adversaries. Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanctions Act. Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanctions Act. CAATSA. Through Sanctions Act. Through CAATSA. Clear? Right. Under the provisions of this act. Clear? Provisions of the act. Countries are prohibited. Countries are prohibited to have financial transactions to have financial transactions with adversary powers like Iran, North Korea and Russia. Adversary powers like Iran, North Korea and Russia. And Russia. And Russia. Clear? Right. Such legislations created problem for India, even though it provides for exceptional waivers, waivers, exceptional waivers, clear? Exceptional waivers, clear? Clear? Right. In fact, this legislation has not been applied. This legislation has not been applied to S-400 Triumph. S-400 Triumph missiles. S-400 Triumph missiles. 400 Triumph missiles purchased by India from Russia. Right. However, such legislations remains to be a big issue, for countries like India, to diversify its defense market, to diversify its defense basket, Issues also needs to be understood. So structural problem, some issues also. Clear? So CATSA is an important point of view. Clear? Now apart from this, clear? As far as defense and strategic issues is concerned between India and United States, in contemporary times, one region has emerged to be highly strategic between India and United States, and United States has started to give a due emphasis to this region, which has emerged to be strategic between India and United States. This region is the Indo-Pacific region. In fact, the new president of United States, Joe Biden, has come out with his own strategy for Indo-Pacific region, and this region has proved to be highly important in nature. Do understand this concept. 2 days back also, there was article in Hindu of Rajmohan Gandhi on Biden's strategy of Indo-Pacific region. So we'll discuss about Indo-Pacific strategy of Joe Biden. Clear? So very important. So Indo-Pacific strategy. Indo-Pacific strategy. Very important issue in between India and United States in contemporary times. First of all, we need to understand what do we mean by Indo-Pacific region. Before we come to that, we'll take some question. Clear? Question is, Militis and Anand, we have answered this question seconds. First world country, US, France, Russia, try keep on conflict on third world countries like India, Pakistan. Fight. India, China fight their own benefit. I mean the conflict in their world. There would be is benefited to first world country to sell defense equipment like Rafale, etc. Is no. Yeah, obviously Vishwajit, you mean to say that the first world country like United States, France and Russia, they make the lower countries or third world countries fight among themselves, and in case they fight among themselves, these countries only supply their arms and weapons, and therefore the lower countries become the defense market for the countries like United States, France and Britain. There's no doubt about it. Clear? Repeat, clear? It cannot be denied that due to conflict among the countries within Asian continent, the Asian continent emerges to be a potential market for defense materials of leading countries like United States, France and Britain. Cannot be denied. It's true. It's perfectly right. There's no doubt about it. Clear? But at the same time, clear? These days, defense materials are not purchased for war. Make it very clear. These days, the defense materials are purchased as a business deal. Clear? So it's not because of conflict only. Bishwajit, make it clear. How many countries are indulging into war these days? Clear? No, leave aside the exception of Russia and Ukraine. No countries are procuring arms and weapons for war. It is basically seen as a business deal. Clear? Why India wants to emerge as indigenous production of goods through co-production and joint production? Why India itself wants to export its arms and weapons to other countries to earn necessary foreign exchange. So defense materials has become a major component of international trade. Clear? And therefore it is to be seen as a trade component, not as a conflict component. Clear? So obviously all these countries are fighting, no doubt, and that creates huge amount of defense market. But these defense market is only not only because of conflict, but also seen as a business component in global politics. Cannot be denied. Clear? Next is, how successful is the initiative of positive indigenization list taken by India? Yeah, success because obviously positive indigenization list, because India wants to show that we have certain indigenization or make in India concept, whereby we want to procure some major hardwares and start to production of our defense equipments within India. But obviously it will take a long time because we need a properly trained manpower for this, and at the same time large hardware market also to start this positive indigenization. Nimai, clear? Next is, sir, my question was inclined towards especially suppose we have some exercises with USA. Suppose after a few years there is a coup in USA and USA merged with China or any rival of ours. Clear? With India some privacy then, or it will affect? Obviously, in case, see, you are asking about something which has got a remote possibility, but if we consider that remote possibility, that if those countries are coming to India conducting exercises and those countries get integrated with other countries that is adversary of India, obviously it may affect India's sensitive information and can create problem for India. But that seems to be a remote possibility, Anand, that it will happen, whereby the countries will get merged and secret information of India could be used against India itself. Clear? But that can happen, cannot be ruled out completely, but that seems to be a remote possibility. Clear? So what will be the consequences of ignoring CAATSA? See, we cannot ignore CAATSA because anyway we ignore CAATSA, sanction can be imposed by US on India also. Clear? So obviously we cannot bypass or ignore CAATSA, but we can demand waiving off. We can demand relaxation from CAATSA, so that with that relaxation we can have trade relationship or financial relationship with other countries. We cannot ignore Iran also. By Iran? Because we import huge amount of oil and gas from Iran, and therefore we have to make payment to Iran. But if these payments are stopped according to CAATSA, obviously Iran will not supply oil and gas to India. So obviously we can demand waive off, relaxation from CAATSA, because without relaxation obviously India cannot fulfill its energy requirement as well. So obviously it is not about bypassing but demanding relaxation from CAATSA. Clear? Now coming to Indo-Pacific strategy, very important in contemporary times. We look into this strategy. Just understand this. Clear? First of all, understand what do you mean by Indo-Pacific region. Clear? What do we mean by Indo-Pacific region? We'll look into Indo-Pacific region. Take anyone. Clear? Take this question, man. Take this region, Indo-Pacific region, clear? Look into this region. Indo-Pacific region means the region of Indian Ocean and Pacific region, and the countries which are included in Indo-Pacific region include South Asian countries, India, Pakistan, Nepal, Myanmar, China, then Southeast Asian countries like Myanmar, Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, Papua New Guinea, and Australia also. This large region is known as the Indo-Pacific region, clear? Yeah. Indo-Pacific region. This region is very important to be understood because in this region, United States and India has started to give due focus. India has been concerned with this indirectly because large Indian Ocean is involved, and United States started to give focus. And the major issue is that United States along with India and other countries is focusing on this region primarily to counter the hegemonizing tendency of China, clear? So China wants to dominate this region, and just because China wants to dominate this region, including the South China Sea region, obviously Joe Biden has given due focus on Indo-Pacific region, clear? So it is basically to counter the rise of China, clear? Now what are the major thing? First major thing is that in Indo-Pacific region, Joe Biden has decided to focus on two important regional groupings. These two regional groupings are Quad and AUKUS, clear? Now which are these Quad and AUKUS? Quad is quadrilateral security dialogue among the four countries, that is United States, India, Japan and Australia. So United States, India, Japan is here, and Australia. Japan, India and Australia are the members of Pacific region, Indo-Pacific region. So Quad is a grouping to discuss security dialogue among the four countries in Indo-Pacific region, and AUKUS is Australia, United Kingdom and United States, clear? So Australia, United Kingdom and United States is another grouping which has been formed in recent times in order to discuss about the region of Indo-Pacific, clear? So first of all is to deliver on Quad and AUKUS in order to counter the hegemonizing tendency of China. At the same time, the focus is to build resilience in this region so that this region could stop the hegemonizing tendency of China, and at the same time, the focus is on to secure and promote technological advancement in this region. So this region has become very important, and Joe Biden has emphasized that in this region, like-minded country and fair country should come together. They should cooperate with each other, and therefore they should try to develop this region as a balanced region against the hegemonizing tendency of China. Also to check China's growing influence in this region, especially the South China Sea region. We'll understand what exactly is the South China Sea region as well, clear? Coming to another region, that is, I'll let you know South China Sea region. What is the conflict in South China Sea region? We'll understand this as well, clear? So coming to South China Sea region, South China Sea map, clear? Look into the South China Sea map, clear? This is the region, clear? We'll understand from here. This is in Chinese language, South China Sea. Even this can be a map. Yeah, look into South China Sea region, clear? South China Sea region. This is a 9-9, starts from Taiwan and it's goes up to China. This region touches the region of Vietnam, and also it touches the region of Philippines as well in course of time. This region is claimed by China, Spratly Island, Paracel Island, Scarborough Shoal. This region, Philippines also, this region is claimed by China. China has constructed or created artificial islands, and from these artificial islands, China counts 200 nautical miles as exclusive economic economic zone, and just because of this, China wants to dominate this region, which affects the territorial integrity and sovereignty of at least two countries, that is Philippines on the one hand, Vietnam on the other hand. Philippines is on this side, Vietnam on this side. Clear? So it has become a big challenge for all the powers, and these smaller countries like Vietnam and Philippines cannot counter China on their own. So they need the support of larger powers, and therefore larger powers like Australia, Japan, India, and United States has come into picture in order to stop the hegemonizing tendency of China. Moreover, India is keen to join this strategy of Joe Biden because India also wants to counter the One Belt, One Road initiative of China, also the string of pearls of China. India is itself countering the string of pearls by the project known as Project Mosam. So domestically, India on its own is countering hegemonizing tendency of China and cooperating with bigger powers in Indo-Pacific region to deal with Chinese aggression. So this has become a big point of convergence between India and United States to deal with the hegemonizing tendency of China in Asian continent. Very important thing to be understood. Clear? So right, Indo-Pacific strategy. Indo-Pacific strategy. Strategy. Clear? Indo-Pacific strategy. Pacific strategy. Clear? Right. The region of Indo-Pacific. The region of Indo-Pacific has emerged to be a sensitive zone, emerged to be a sensitive zone, emerged to be a sensitive zone, sensitive zone in global politics, sensitive zone in global politics, sensitive zone in global politics, in sensitive zone in global politics, global politics. Clear? Right. In this region, China is trying to establish its complete control, right? Moreover, China has already established control over South China Sea region, 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 South China Sea region that starts from Taiwan, Look into this. That starts from Taiwan and reaches the southern coast of China. Clear? Right. China has constructed artificial islands. Islands in this region, and by calculating the area of exclusive economic zone, by calculating the area of exclusive economic zone, China has China has established control. China has established control. Over the entire South China Sea region. Over the entire South China Sea region. South China region. South China Sea region. Clear? Right. In fact, in fact, it has affected the territorial integrity of Philippines. Territorial integrity of Philippines and Vietnam. Territorial integrity of Philippines and Vietnam. But these countries cannot challenge. These countries cannot challenge Chinese domination. Cannot challenge Chinese domination. Clear? Change paragraph, right? In order to counter the domination of China, in order to counter the domination of China, counter the domination of China, counter the domination of China, United States has decided to promote resilient, promote resilience, RESILIENCE, promote resilience, power to endure, resilience in the entire Indo-Pacific region. In the entire Indo-Pacific region. Indo-Pacific region. Clear? Like with such objective, the US President, with such objective, the US President Joe Biden, has decided to promote quadrilateral, right? Decided to promote quadrilateral security dialogue. Quadrilateral security dialogue or Quad. Quadrilateral security dialogue or Quad, which was originally established in 2007, and it has been reestablished in 2017. Reestablished in 2017. Clear? Right. It comprises of Australia. Japan, India, and United States. And United States. Clear? Right, right. This dialogue forum, file forum, can create a deterrent effect on China. Can create a deterrent effect on China. Deterrent effect on China. Right. Consequently, China has criticized. Consequently, China has criticized Quad. China has criticized Quad by declaring it to be Asian NATO, that is Asian version of NATO, declaring to be Asian NATO. Asian NATO. Asian NATO. Asian NATO. Clear? NATO. Asian NATO. Okay? Right. In this context only, it must be understood. In this context only, it must be understood. It must be understood. In this context only, it must be understood. Understood that joint naval exercise or the Malabar exercise, joint naval exercise or the Malabar exercise, or the Malabar exercise, Malabar exercise, Malabar exercise involves all the Quad countries, same countries, India, United States, Japan and Australia, all the Quad countries, to show collective strength against, China. Collective strength against China. Clear? Change paragraph. Right. Joe Biden has also decided to promote AUKUS. AUKUS also decided to promote AUKUS. Comprising of Australia, United Kingdom and US. The acronym Australia, United Kingdom and US, which was established on 15th of September 2021. Which was established on 15th of September 2021. Clear? Right. The objective of this grouping is to promote cyber security, SCYBER, is to promote cyber security and artificial intelligence. Cyber security and artificial intelligence. Intelligence to create proper control over Indo-Pacific region. Proper control over Indo-Pacific region. Clear? Indo-Pacific region. Right. Next paragraph. Such initiatives such initiatives has created a strong convergence, has created a strong convergence between India and United States, a strong convergence between India and United States, a strong convergence between India and United States, which has created sufficient depth, which has created sufficient depth in bilateral relationship, sufficient depth in bilateral relationship. Indo-Pacific, new strategy altogether above Joe Biden, just to reinforce Quad and AUKUS. Clear? And India being a major actor in all this strategy. Clear? So this was about defense and strategic cooperation between the two countries. Clear? So India and United States has come together on different areas of convergence, and one such prominent area of convergence is the Indo-Pacific region in Asia, which has been dominated by China, and therefore efforts are being made to counter Chinese hegemony in Asian continent. Clear? So China factor is a major factor to create convergence between India and United States. We had discussed earlier also. Clear? Now this is one area. Apart from this, clear? The next major component of Indo-US relationship in contemporary times is cooperation in the energy sector, especially nuclear sector. Clear? So we'll discuss about nuclear diplomacy between India and United States that has become very important in contemporary times. Clear? So we'll discuss about nuclear diplomacy. Clear? Nuclear diplomacy. Clear? Next thing is nuclear diplomacy. Nuclear diplomacy between India and United States. Clear? Just understand about nuclear diplomacy between the two, because both countries has even concluded Indo-US civil nuclear deal also. Clear? This is another very important area of cooperation. Clear? Just understand first of all, we had discussed about nuclear policy and approach of India in post-independent era yesterday only, because we had discussed that nuclear disarmament was one of the major principles of India's foreign policy. Clear? But even after some time, India got disillusioned with global approach, and India itself began to have nuclear tests and ultimately claimed itself to be a nuclear weapon state. Clear? But how this was related to United States, we'll just understand. Clear? When India signed and ratified Partial Test Ban Treaty in 1963, it was highly appreciated by United States, as India also made it clear that it wants to check nuclear proliferation at global level. So Partial Test Ban Treaty that banned nuclear tests in atmosphere, outer space and beneath the water was accepted and ratified by India in 1963, and that is why, clear, just because United States appreciated this India's gesture, United States decided to supply uranium to India, because we had discussed yesterday there is scarcity of uranium in India, but we have sufficient amount of thorium, and that is why we have a three-stage nuclear policy to shift gradually from uranium to thorium. But since we had insufficient amount of uranium at the time, United States agreed to supply uranium to India, and when United States began to supply uranium from 1963, this was largely used in Tarapur Atomic Power Plant in Maharashtra for energy generation. So United States initially contributed towards energy generation in India when United States supplied uranium for Tarapur Atomic Power Plant after 1963, when India concluded PTBT or Partial Test Ban Treaty. But we had discussed yesterday, very soon India got disillusioned with a discriminatory treaty known as Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, which distinguished between the nuclear capable countries and non-nuclear weapon countries, and therefore India refused to sign NPT, and India went forward to conduct first peaceful nuclear test at Pokhran in 1974. When India conducted this nuclear test, United States began to impose sanctions upon India. United States stopped the supply of uranium for Tarapur atomic power plant, and moreover, United States went forward to establish multilateral export control regime, primarily because of India, and that was in form of nuclear suppliers group. And it was made clear that all the member countries, there are 48 member countries as of now, all the member countries will not supply any nuclear or will not have any nuclear trade and commerce with countries like India, and therefore huge amount of sanctions began to be imposed upon India. This affected the nuclear energy cooperation between India and United States. Clear? Moreover, when India conducted second nuclear test in 1998, further sanctions began to be imposed upon India. So in the entire 20th century, there was no major nuclear support and cooperation between the two countries, and nuclear diplomacy was at its lowest point. Clear? But nuclear diplomacy also began to witness upward trajectory when India and United States came together just to fight for global terrorism. Clear? And therefore, both the countries decided to support each other. In 2005, India and United States concluded Indo-US Civil Nuclear Deal. It was a momentous moment where India was accepted as a responsible and advanced country, and United States concluded Indo-US Civil Nuclear Deal, whereby US companies were supposed to construct nuclear reactors in India. Clear? So it was a great development, and Indo-US Civil Nuclear Deal was a great breaking point in the Indo-US relationship, which was signed in 2005 between George Bush and Indian Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh. Clear? So first of all, retrospectively, no major development on nuclear diplomacy front. Clear? Right, introduction first. Clear? Right. Right. The nuclear diplomacy between India and United States. The nuclear diplomacy between nuclear diplomacy between India and United States. Diplomacy between India and United States. Between India and United States. United States was at a lower ground, in the 20th century, in the 20th century. Clear? Right. Right. When global community came out with the Partial Test Ban Treaty, PTBT, came out with Partial Test Ban Treaty in 1963. Partial Test Ban Treaty in 1963. India signed this treaty. Which was appreciated by United States. Clear? Right. Consequently, United States began to provide uranium. For Tarapur atomic power plant. Tarapur atomic power plant. Clear? Change paragraph, right? However, just after some time, just after some time, just after some time, however, just after some time, nuclear diplomacy got affected. Nuclear diplomacy got affected. Nuclear diplomacy got affected. Nuclear diplomacy got affected. Diplomacy got affected as India refused to sign. India refused to sign NPT, Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. All these we had discussed yesterday. They are very important concepts. India refused to sign NPT and went forward to conduct nuclear test in 1974. Nuclear test in 1974. Clear? Right. United States openly criticized the nuclear test of India. United States openly criticized the nuclear test of India. Nuclear test of India. And stopped the supply of uranium. And stopped the supply of uranium to Tarapur Atomic Power Plant. To Tarapur Atomic Power Plant. 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 Power Plant. Tarapur Atomic Power Plant. Clear? Atomic Power Plant. Right. Moreover, United States promoted the establishment of NSG, Nuclear Suppliers Group. Promoted the establishment of Nuclear Suppliers Group to prevent nuclear trade and commerce. To prevent nuclear trade and commerce. To prevent nuclear trade and commerce. Nuclear trade and commerce with non-member countries. Non-member countries. Non-member countries. Non-member countries. Non-member countries. Clear? Change paragraph. Right. When India conducted its second nuclear test, in 1998, further sanctions were imposed by United States. Further sanctions were imposed by United States. Which further affected the nuclear diplomacy. Which further affected the nuclear diplomacy. Affected the nuclear diplomacy. Further affected the nuclear diplomacy. Clear. Change paragraph. Right. However, from the beginning of the 21st century, from the beginning of the 21st century. Beginning of 21st century. From the beginning of the 21st century. Beginning of the 21st century. 21st century. 20th century nuclear cooperation between India and United States. Nuclear cooperation between India and United States began to witness upward trajectory. Began to witness upward trajectory. Upward trajectory. Clear? Trajectory. Right. In 2005, India and United States. In 2005, India and United States. India and United States. India and United States concluded. India and United States concluded Indo-US civil nuclear agreement. Indo-US civil nuclear agreement. Indo-US civil nuclear agreement. Indo-US civil nuclear agreement. Indo-US civil nuclear agreement, which was preceded by, negotiations were going on, which was preceded by the next step in strategic partnership, which was preceded by the next step of strategic partnership, next step of strategic partnership in 2004. Next step of strategic partnership in 2004. As a prelude to, as a consequence to this, Indo-US civil nuclear deal was signed in 2005. Clear? Indo-US civil nuclear, very important development, signed in 2005. Clear? Change paragraph, right? According to the civil nuclear agreement, according to the civil nuclear agreement, United States agreed that US companies will construct and develop nuclear power plants in India, for energy generation, right? At the same time, India decided to separate civilian and military nuclear installations. Civilian and military nuclear installations. Clear? Right. Moreover, India decided that all civilian nuclear facilities, will be placed under will be placed under IAEA safeguards. Nuclear watchdog, we had discussed earlier, will be placed under IAEA watchdogs. IAEA watchdogs. Watchdogs, clear? Right. Right. India separated 14 civilian nuclear installations, civilian nuclear installation to be placed under IAEA monitoring. To be placed under IAEA monitoring. IAEA monitoring, clear? Right, next paragraph. Right, in order to implement civil nuclear agreement, United States signed the 123 agreement. United States signed the 123 agreement. 123 agreement, which refers to section 123, of the US Atomic Energy Act. Section 123 of the US Atomic Energy Act 1954. US Atomic Energy Act 1954 that allows United States to promote nuclear trade and commerce. That allows United States to promote nuclear trade and commerce. Nuclear trade and commerce with other countries. With other countries. Okay? Right. The 123 agreement. 123 agreement was signed in 2007. Whereby an exception was made in favor of India. An exception was made in favor of India. An exception was made in favor of India. To start nuclear commerce. Without India being, very important, without India being a signatory of NPT. It's a rule. Without signing NPT, US cannot trade. If its exception was given to India, without signing NPT. Sign NPT. Clear. So United States also went forward without signing NPT. Clear? NPT. Without signing NPT. Clear? Chain paragraph. Right. Under the pressure of United States, India was even given relaxation. India was also given relaxation by NSG, Nuclear Suppliers Group, relaxation by NSG in 2008, which was opposed by China. Till this point, it's clear, opposed by China. So, United States went forward. United States not only amended its own domestic law, United States even convinced the global community to make exceptions about India. So, first of all, United States made a domestic exception whereby 123 agreement was given a specific clause that nuclear trade and commerce could be conducted with India, even though India is not a signatory of NPT. Clear? First of all, for this, Henry J. Hyde Act was passed in 2006, and Henry J. Hyde Act proposed that exception could be given to India, and thereafter exception was given to India in 2007 under 123 agreement, whereby an exception was made that even though India is not a signatory of NPT, nuclear trade and commerce could be done with India. So domestic exemption was given by United States to India, and at global level, United States asked for waiver or exemptions by NSG member. Even against the opposition of China, India was given waiver or exemption from NSG, partial waiver from NSG, and that allowed India to have trade and commerce with other countries of the world, which was a big support given by United States. Clear? No, India also needed to respond positively. India also needed to go with this deal. Apart from separating the civilian facilities from military facilities and opening the civilian facilities for IA safeguards, now India wanted to move forward. Clear? But when India wanted to move forward, at this time the ruling government, the UPA regime in India, began to be criticized by opposition parties. Clear? And at this time, when opposition parties began to criticize, all opposition leaders made it clear that in case US companies come and construct nuclear reactors, and in case any nuclear accident takes place, what will be or how will the masses affected get compensation. They highlighted the Bhopal gas tragedy. They also highlighted the Fukushima incident also, and they made it clear that in case any nuclear accident happens in India, obviously US companies should take the responsibility of paying compensation to the victims affected by nuclear accident. Clear? And just because of hectic discussion in Indian Parliament, finally Union Parliament India came out with Civil Liability and Nuclear Damages Act in 2010. Under Civil Liability and Nuclear Damages Act, it was tried that all liability should be fixed for nuclear damages in case nuclear damage take place and masses gets affected. We'll come to the provisions of Civil Liability and Nuclear Damages Act, which was enacted by Union Parliament in 2010. Clear? First of all, there's a question. Sir, it is said that major role behind the establishment of Quad goes to former PM of Japan. Yeah, Shinzo Abe played the most important role in 2007 also, and 2017 also, when it was to be established. The major instrumental role establishing Quad was given by Japan, because Japan itself is very concerned about the rise of China, and to maintain balance of power, Shinzo Abe took initiative to establish and re-establish Quad in course of time. No doubt about Demai. Clear? So coming to civil liability. Clear? Right. Next back. Right. Since United States went an extra mile, no doubt. Since United States went an extra mile, went an extra mile within and outside the country, that is domestic laws and NSG, within and outside the country, it enhanced the diplomatic stature of India. It enhanced the diplomatic stature of India. It enhanced the diplomatic stature of India. Diplomatic stature of India. Right. However, Indian legislators began to oppose the implementation of civil nuclear agreement, and decided to fix liability in case of nuclear damages. Fixed liability in case of nuclear damages. Clear? Right. The Union Parliament enacted the Union Parliament enacted the Civil Liability of Nuclear Damages Act. Enacted the Civil Liability of Nuclear Damages Act. Civil Liability of Nuclear Damages Act in 2010. Civil Liability of Nuclear Damages Act in 2010. Clear? Right. Under the provisions of this legislation, in case of a nuclear accident, in case of a nuclear accident, in case of nuclear accident, the liability was capped, was fixed. The liability was fixed. The liability was fixed. Up to rupees 1500 crore. Rupees 1500 crore to be paid to the victim. 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 Clear? To be paid to the victim. Right. At the same time, it was made clear. At the same time, it was made clear that this compensation has to be given. This compensation has to be given by the supplier. Has to be given by the supplier. Has to be given by supplier and not by the operator. And not by the operator. And not by the operator. Clear? Not by the operator, as mentioned in section 17B. Mentioned section 17B of the Act. 17B of the Act. Clear? Right. This became controversial because US companies were to be suppliers. This became controversial, and US companies refused to accept. US companies refused to accept such provisions. Such provisions. Clear? Right. In order to resolve this issue, Indian government established the nuclear insurance pool. In 2015, Indian government established the nuclear insurance pool in 2015, whereby the maximum liability for operator was fixed to rupees 1500 crore. rupees 1500 crore. 1500 crore. But in case of liability beyond this amount, but in case of liability beyond this amount, in case of liability beyond this amount, in case of liability beyond this amount, the government will provide the surplus liability. The government will provide the extra liability. Provide the extra liability. So government also tried its best, extra liability. Clear? Change paragraph, right? In this way, both India and United States showed that they are ready to take nuclear diplomacy to a higher level. Nuclear diplomacy to a higher level. Nuclear diplomacy to a higher level. Higher level. Clear? Change paragraph. Right. Related to nuclear diplomacy, United States supported India's entry. United States supported India's entry. Supported India's entry in 4 multilateral regimes. Supported India's entry in 4 multilateral regimes. In 4 multilateral regimes. Number 1, Australia Group, Wassenaar Arrangement, Australia Group, Wassenaar Arrangement, Missile Technology Control Regime, Missile Technology Control Regime or MTCR. And fourth is Nuclear Suppliers Group, NSG. Nuclear Suppliers Group or NSG. Australia Group, Wassenaar Arrangement, Missile Technology Control Regime and Nuclear Suppliers Group. India has got members in all the top 3, clear, with support of US, and India is fighting for membership in Nuclear Suppliers Group also. But the biggest hurdle is China, clear, and more so because India has not signed NPT and there's a precondition to join NSG, that country must be a signatory of NPT, clear. So obviously India is striving to get membership in NSG, but India has got member in these organizations. Now what are these multilateral regimes? We'll just understand, clear. Australia Group was an informal group which was established in 1985. Why it was established? To identify and prevent the export of such materials which can be converted into chemical and biological weapons. The reason was that from 1979 till 1989, war was continued between Iran and Iraq, leading to the Gulf crisis. And in this Iran-Iraq war only, Iraq became the first country to use chemical and biological weapons. Even though these weapons were used in First World War also, in Vietnam War also, but they were not officially declared. Official declaration was done in this war only. So Iraq Iraq became the first country to formally declare the use of chemical and biological weapons against Iran during the Gulf War in 1984. Therefore, world realized the harmful effect of chemical and biological weapons, and therefore several countries came together to establish a grouping known as Australia Group to identify and to prevent the export of such materials which have the potential of being converted into chemical and biological weapons. Clear? Since India was not considered to be a responsible country at that time, India was excluded from Australia Group. This was one multilateral regime. But in recent times, India has been included as a member of Australia Group with support of United States. Clear? That is why one question was asked from your side, that why we cannot bypass United States in global politics and we have a curated foreign policy. We can, but without United States we will not have much larger role in global diplomacy, because United States has a larger weight in global diplomacy. Clear? Coming clear? Right, next. Right. Australia Group is an informal group. The Australia Group is an informal group which was established in 1985. Which was established in 1985. Which was established in 1985 to prevent the export of such materials, which can be converted into chemical and biological weapons, Clear? Right. During Iran-Iraq war, these weapons were used, chemical and biological weapons. During Iran-Iraq war, these weapons were used by Iraq. In 1984, that emerged to be a major threat, for humanity. Right. India was not given membership in this grouping. But with US support, India joined as the 43rd member. As the 43rd member of Australia Group, in 2018. In 2018. This is Australia Group. Vesna arrangement. Clear? So Vesna arrangement is basically, Vesna is the name of place in Netherlands, near Hague. Clear? And this is related to dual use technology and materials. Clear? Right here. The Vesna arrangement. The Vesna arrangement The Vesna arrangement is an informal regime. The Vesna arrangement is an informal regime to block the export of strategic materials and technologies and technology along with dual use materials, dual use which can be used twice, like spent fuel, dual use materials, clear? Materials, right? Initially India was not given membership. Initially India was not given membership, but with US support, India joined this arrangement. India joined this arrangement in 2017. In 2017. 2017. Clear? Change paragraph. Clear? Right. The third export control regime, known as the Missile Technology Control Regime, MTCR, known as the Missile Technology Control Regime. The Missile Technology Control Regime was established in 1987. Established in 1987 among 37 member states. Okay? Right. The aim of this regime is to prevent the transfer of missile technology. Transfer missile technology that can carry more than 500 kg payload. That can carry more than 500 kg payload, or have a range of more than 300 kilometers. Have a range of more than 300 kilometers. No missile technology can be given by 37 member states to non-member states having payload carrying capacity of more than 500 kg and a range of more than 300 kilometers. That is why, to understand, since India was not given membership initially, when India and Russia developed the first supersonic cruise missile BrahMos, the range of BrahMos was kept deliberately below 300, that is 290 kilometers. Why? Russia could not transfer any missile technology to India exceeding 300 kilometers because India was not a member of MTCR. So it went against Indian interest. India wanted membership in MTCR. Clear? Right. Initially, India was not given membership in this regime. But it finally joined in 2016. 2016. Finally joined in 2016. Very important development, 2016. Clear? Right, next paragraph. Right, India is still striving to get membership in NSG. India is still striving to get membership in NSG which was established in 1974. Energy which was established in 1974 for among 48 member countries. Till present time 48 among 48 member countries. Clear? Right. The biggest issue is that India being a non-signatory of NPT, cannot join. India being a non-signatory of NPT cannot join NSG. Clear? So exporting. So US support was mandatory. So two major areas, defense cooperation and nuclear cooperation between the two countries. These are two broad areas. Now we'll come to trade cooperation between India and United States and related issues like intellectual property rights issue and even issues in World Trade Organization, WTO. So we'll come to trade component in Indo-US relationship. Indo-US relations take time. It's a big country and therefore all major dimensions needs to be discussed. Clear? Now there's a question from Vishwajit. Sir, is India given exception due to Indian lobby in US? To some extent cannot be denied. 4 million Indians diaspora is there in US. They have a very important role. So obviously US lobby, Indian diaspora also plays an important role. That is why our government, especially our Prime Minister Narendra Modi, is very keen to address the concern of Indian diaspora because he know that Indian diaspora can have huge impact on domestic policies of United States. So cannot be denied altogether that India has been given exception also because of a large and powerful lobby of Indians in United States. Clear, Vishwajit? So these were all international regime in which India got membership except NSG. Clear? Now we'll continue with India's trade relationship with United States and other interrelated issues, and then we'll discuss other dimensions as well. Clear? Now we'll continue from here in the next class and we'll have next session on Monday. I think tomorrow and day after tomorrow we have weekend holidays. So we'll continue again from Monday onwards, exact time. Clear? We'll continue with Indo-US relationship and after we complete Indo-US, we'll start with Indo-Russian bilateral relationship. We'll discuss major powers. Clear? Is it fine? So thank you all of you. Take care of yourself. Enjoy your weekend. So see you then again on Monday. Clear? Thank you.